Welcome to another show of Bridges Live. I'm Dr. Paul. Welcome to Bridges Live. And of course, some of my shows, there are a lot of my shows I have is usually about an incident or a purpose. It's always about information, understanding, and an action. And of course, I always like to have my beautiful guests on to give them what they're doing in their life because we're moving life forward. That is ultimately what we're trying to do is to give you good information, give you great understanding, and hopefully that puts you into an action. Because if you're not actively engaged, and I'll tell you this in every show, if you're not actively engaged, then life is going to move past you, run over you, and it will take advantage of you. So you have to be engaged. And I'd like to please welcome my guest, Jamarr Williams, to the Bridges Live with Dr. Paul. But tell us about yourself, Jamarr, so we can get going on with the show of the important stuff. Go ahead, go.
First of all, thank you so much, Dr. Dyer, for having me this evening. I am more than excited. As it has already been announced, my name is Jamarr Williams. Many people know me as Jamarr with two R's Williams, the empowerment specialist. All right. So I serve as a motivational speaker. I also serve as an author and a life coach. In that field, of course, it can be a wide variety of topics that you do talk about. What I tend to hone on very specifically is that type of greatness empowerment. All right. So helping you to realize that greatness that truly is on the inside of us all. We truly do sometimes fall by the wayside of really understanding of who we are. And we tend to limit ourselves, Dr. Dyer, and observing audience, we tend to limit ourselves by the very circumstances or the very temporary variables that may sometimes surround us. So my idea as a motivational speaker, as that life coach, is to get you to understand and get directly in touch with that greatness that is truly on the inside of you. This is exactly what I do.
You know, when we talk to life coaches and people who are helping others see the best in themselves, ultimately, it's, to me, we come to this journey by usually a journey we have on our own. Jamarr with the two R's.
Yes.
How did you get here from there? And I think because so many people don't figure it out that they can get here from wherever there is. So what was your here and that, because now you're there. So where'd you come from?
A bit of a background as far as my history. So I grew up in the southwest part of Georgia, actually.
Georgia.
As you may know, yes. As you may know, it's a part of the Bible Belt. I'm one of those individuals. I know what it's like to have the background as far as going to church, having that very active lifestyle with your family. I have the education. I've achieved 2 dual bachelors and also a master's degree. I've worked for Fortune 500 companies. However,
you wasn't happy.
What's that?
You wasn't happy.
I can't necessarily say that. However, what I came to find out, Dr. Dyer, is that even with all of the education, even with the right upbringing, even I myself was not immune to some of the dangers of this world, right?
What do you mean? Like, because people do focus on that. They're like, it's either something hit them, something hurt them, something created something. So when you talk about immune, I know what you mean by immune. I do, but if a person doesn't mean how would you explain that immunity? Because we all have a conflict with this.
Yes. So what I mean by that level of immunity, you see, we are taught in a way that as long as you have the education, you're equipped for this world, right? We're taught that as long as you have the proper family upbringing, that you're truly equipped to be able to deal with everything of this world. Why? Because you were given or granted the proper resources. Now, yes, that does entail, and it goes so far. I understand, and what I came to find out is that when it comes right down to it, there are certain things that you truly do have to be able to experience in this lifetime. You have to be able to go through certain trials, certain struggles, and to be able to overcome and conquer them within your own means. So by that immunity, I mean to say that there were certain experiences that my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, my proper family upbringing just simply did not prepare me for. I truly had to see it firsthand, experience it firsthand, get through it firsthand. So that's what I mean by that immunity. And honestly, recognizing that you are indeed not immune is a part of truly what makes you great. It's a part of what truly gets you in touch with that greatness that is on the inside of you.
Jamarr, I love that. Jamarr with two R's. Why did you think that education was going to create immunity? Because I did have the false thing also.
Okay.
And many people I've talked to also thought that if I did this, I'll be allowed in the room.
Right.
I will be accepted.
Correct.
Now, is that a black assumption, or is that just completely assumption across the board? Because I have found it only happens more so with black and brown. It does happen with others, but it's so slim. So I would say out of 10, 9.5 is black and brown or women that they thought that this will allow them. Did you have that assumption too, that, well, it's not my skin, it's what I'm lacking, so let me get that. It's not what I am not able to do, so let me work on that. So you did that, and still you got hit with the sickness. I would say the social sickness, because prejudices, hatred, and discrimination, and all this other stuff, it's a sickness. And we think that, hey, I'm a nice guy, I'm a nice person, I've gotten this, I can get here, and still you wasn't immune.
Correct.
And here yeah.
Well, to answer that question simply, if I were to be wholeheartedly honest in my own opinion, yes, I have seen it within the black brown community, that can be a typical mindset. Mm-hmm. As a minority, and I faced it even myself, I have seen firsthand and even gone through the mindset challenges myself to know and understand that in order to be able to compete with the majority, we had to be able to have certain qualifications. Correct. We had to be able to have certain skills. We had to be able to, in a way, rise above what was the typical standard for the majority.
Yes.
What I came to find out is that it's not only specific to the black brown community. It truly can be a societal type of killer.
Right.
I have seen it with Caucasians. I have seen it with Asians. I have seen it with Africans. I have seen it all over the place, to say that in order for us to fit a certain status, we must be qualified for that status. Now, let me reverse that, Dr. Dyer. I go back to the idea of the greatness that is on the inside of you. Remember that greatness is what is on the inside of you. Yeah. Meaning, before you got the education, before you even had the experience, guess what? It was already a part of you.
Yes.
So guess what? Even though society may turn around and say, in order for you to work this specific job position, even though society may turn around and say, hey, you have to have these necessary qualifications in order to fit into this very description, or to be able to rise to the occasion, your greatness says, wait a minute, I have what it takes, even without what you are demanding of me. I have what it takes to be able to fit into this status, to be able to fit and walk in this with or without the education. Why? Because I am that of greatness. I am that of the empowered. I am that of what I refer to quite often as the unlimited.
Which represents this picture back here. Understanding the greatness of who you are.
Yes.
That's within you.
Yes.
That takes courage.
Most definitely. Most definitely. It takes courage. It takes a boldness. Honestly, and I refer to this and I talk about this, one of the 9 traits that I talk about in the recently released book that I just released and published.
Congratulations, by the way. Yes. We're going to get right there. Where's that book? You got that book?
I actually have it with me.
You better. You better.
I have it with me right here. When I wrote this book, Dr. Dyer, and I'll talk about it more, it was an extremely humbling process. So you talk about that boldness. You talk about that courage. In order to truly reach recognize, release, and truly be directly in touch with that greatness, that unlimited capacity, that limitless mindset, that boundless capacity that is of you. It not only takes that courage, it not only takes that boldness, that is a very strong part of it. However, it also takes a humility aspect. I talk about that in my book. You have to be humble enough to be able to know that you are greatness, because guess what? It is our ego, once again, that will convince us, wait a minute, you don't have the qualifications. You can't be great. You don't have the title yet. You don't have the status yet. How can you call yourself greatness?
Or, here's the other thing. They're just not giving me a shot because I am black. And I am poor. I am this. I went to jail. I am this. Whatever. You start putting those things on you, so you start beating yourself down. And that is still ego. Ego thinks it's something you think of highly of yourself. Ego is also something you think less of yourself.
Yes. And I'm so glad that you brought that up. Things like poverty, once again, as a matter of fact, it's in chapter 2 of my book, I the Empower. I literally specifically address different lifestyles, different experiences, from the drug abuse to the addiction. And when I talk about addiction, I talk about those sex and those gambling addictions. I talk about the poverty. I talk about the homelessness. I talk about even those that feel as if they were systematically defeated. Those that have suffered through the incarceration, those that have suffered through whatever the case may be, those mental health disorders, those feelings of depression, those feelings of worthlessness, those feelings, overinflated feelings of anxiety, those things that truly want to be able to take you out. Now, I was in a position once upon a time, Dr. Dyer, where I looked at my circumstances and I said, you know what? Because of my circumstances, I will never be. I will never become again. That even though, yes, I had the dual bachelor's degree, even though I had the master's degree, even though I had the experience working in the Fortune 500 company, even though I was making close to 6 figures a year, I looked directly at my circumstances and I said to myself, life is truly over.
Right.
It's done. Right. I am done. What can I do? My circumstances, my ego has me looking directly at my circumstances as opposed to looking on the inside to say, you know what? It didn't take your degrees before. It didn't take your education before. It didn't take your experiences before. What it took was the greatness on the inside of you. So yes, in order for me to honestly rise above from that place that I once was, I had to truly go back to the drawing board and look directly at who I was, who I have always been, outside of the circumstances, outside of the variables.
Now, Jamarr, with the 2 R's, I'm going to do that the whole show.
Thank you.
You have the graded beard talk to the dark beard.
Okay.
That means maybe you're just young and a lot of vigor. Maybe. But I tell you, how do we reach, I've talked to some people that said, some people who are not willing to help themselves, how can we help them? Because a lot of times we spend so much effort on trying to reach back to the people who aren't reaching up, that is causing us to slow down in our communities, that is causing our communities to not ever fully thrive.
Yes.
So with this segment here, to reach down to that young person, for them to take a hard look at themselves, what do we say? Because if they haven't done it already, they're excusing themselves into video games. They're excusing themselves into smoking more pot. They're excusing themselves into wearing their pants sagged down low. They're excusing themselves into saying that no one's going to give me, no one's going to blah, blah, blah. They need to hear you. But their minds are closed, their hearts closed. So how do we get them? Yeah, I know. And it's frustrating because I just want to shake the junk out of you to say, listen, you got an opportunity to wake up, but you got to look in before you open up.
Most definitely, most definitely. Now, here's the reason why I'm a bit dumbfounded, right?
Mm.
Because honestly, when you really think about it, is there truly a right or wrong answer to
No. No.
Is there really, truly one solid path
Nope.
to getting to that end result, Dr. Dyer?
No.
And I'm sitting here thinking because, of course, being that we are unlimited, guess what? The same way that we get to that of the unlimited, guess what? It has unlimited possibilities.
That's right.
Meaning there are unlimited paths as to how we reach that individual. All right? Now, for some individuals, honestly, hate to say it, but hey, maybe they will find themselves while they're playing that new PS5, while they're playing that Xbox. For me, in order for me to determine some of that greatness, or to me to truly recognize some of that greatness, what had to happen for me? Everything, and I mean everything, not even exaggerating,
No.
everything literally had to be stripped away from me. Because I had to know who I was outside of the 3-bedroom, 2-bath. I had to know who I was outside of the 2 vehicles. I had to know who I was outside of the bachelor's and the master's. I had to know who I was outside of the so-called position.
Because those things are material. They're not identity.
Exactly. And here's the thing. We tend to connect that of greatness, that of elevation, that of development to how much we have. We tend to connect that. We're not achieving more unless we go from the iPhone 11 to the iPhone 12. We're not achieving more unless we're able to, play as much of the PS4 and now be able to afford the new PS5. I don't even know how much those run.
I don't know. I'm not a video game, but I know that. But see, I do know there's people out there who are stuck, and and here's the fascinating thing. And I always put these things in context. Would you rather buy a video game that I know probably costs, a new game is like $80, right? Because you see them on sale. I see them on sale. I don't buy them, but they see them on sale. So they're $80. But you don't have a job.
Right.
How does that work?
And see, once upon a time, I've been completely guilty of that. Right? I've been completely guilty of being attached to what was going to, and I once again describe this in my book, I was completely attached to what was going to be able to entertain my ego, what was going to be able to elevate what was fragile on the inside of me, what was literally already hanging on by threads.
Which is funny because that's where you say that's the sickness we were talking about, and you were not immune to the sickness and the disease. Exactly.
You're not immune. Just as no one is immune to what's going on in our world today. The COVID-19, we have found out the hard way that just like that, this sickness can just sneak up on anyone. And it can truly, drastically change the exact fabric of life itself. Now, what happens when you detach from what is materialistic, what you once found value in? What happens when you detach from that? You now are able to attach to what is honestly intangible. You're now able to attach to what is no longer tethered. You see, all of the materialistic, it is tethered. It depreciates. It is tethered. But when you detach from it, you now have the freedom, truly, to ascend to whatever level, to elevate to whatever level, to move throughout this world in whatever fashion that you want to. Now, instead of attaching to what is materialistic, I attach to what is unlimited. Now, instead of finding value in that next pair of shoes and that next Mercedes that everybody wants to have still, instead of finding value in that, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I take and I say, you know what? Now that I know myself to be greatness, how can I feed that greatness? No longer do I need to feed ego. How do I feed what is unlimited? You see, my ego needs to be fed. Why? Because it knows that it is limited. It needs the courage. It needs to be baby every day. However, your greatness is able to stand all on its own? How can you encourage that further? Now, instead of attaching myself to the $100 pair of shoes, I'm now attaching myself to the next book that's going to teach me maybe how to become a millionaire. That's going to teach me how do I develop my mindset even further. And guess what? That book may only cost $3.99.
You know, the way my mind works, I always think of asking myself or the question. And even if it's a simple question like, I wonder how that building's built. I wonder what that tree is. Is it an oak? Is it whatever? I mean, so for me, being inquisitive developed me to search.
Yes.
So I always think, are people asking themselves the question? Not looking for an answer, but asking the question, how can I? When will I?
Yes.
Could I?
Yes.
Will I?
Yes.
I don't understand why people aren't so inquisitive. They're just, and I think it, and I kind of know why. I mean, I know how human development works. I mean, human condition is a condition of society, and that going back to the phrase, that is the sickness, and that's why people think they're getting hit with that sickness, and they don't know they're sick.
Yes. 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 It is a silent killer. It is an unconscious killer. Honestly.
Yeah, that's it. It's unconscious.
And I will say this: one thing that I have come to find out, not only with working with others, but even in myself, I can honestly admit, especially now that I am where I am now that I know what I know now, I can honestly say, wait a minute. I don't think people are truly doing this on purpose.
No,
you know, you go back to that whole idea of being inquisitive. You know, I don't even think that it's all about not being inquisitive, because our very human nature says we want to be able to find out more. We want to be able to discover more. We want to be able to unlock more. Here's the thing. Because so many of us go throughout life operating as if we are completely disconnected
there it is.
From the unlimited, but connected to that of the materialistic. We go throughout life being inquisitive, but when we ask the questions of when will I, can I, how can I, we automatically defeat ourselves because we don't have the materialistic, right, to be able to complement or support the question of can I.
And we're disconnected, so we stay disconnected, and we don't, and because the sickness keeps us disconnected. Exactly.
And once again, and it's a very honestly, it's so disheartening. Even when I think about it, and it's something that I'm extremely passionate about, because I remember once upon a time when I was lost in that room. You know, I was lost completely to the materialistic, right? I understand, you know, at once upon a time when I said, can I start a new business? Yeah, however, I don't have the money. Right. Yeah, however, I don't have the education. Yeah, however, I don't have the connections to be able to do this, that, and the third. I don't have the connections to be able to move my brand from just a local small-time population of 150,000 to a worldwide movement. Right? Why do we answer it in such a fashion? Because we're connected to what is materialistic. We feel as though, and I was victim to this at one point or another. We feel as though that we have to have the money in order to start the movement. We have to have the status in order for people to start following us. No, what you truly need, champion, as I refer to people all the time in my videos, Everyday Empowerment 365 videos, what you need, champion, is to realize and to recognize that you are that of greatness, that you are that of the unlimited. Because you are that of the unlimited, you can do truly anything that you set your mind to. And guess what? Starting that brand doesn't take money. It takes you starting the brand.
There it is. Show that book again.
Sure.
And then before we give people how they can get the book from you, how they can talk to you, and let's get that in and out of the way so we can continue and move forward. Sure. But please give that information.
Sure. I, the empowered, recognizing and releasing the traits of greatness within you. Now, there are a couple of ways you can purchase this. This is available if you are the online shopping type. This is available on Amazon for $13.99. Now, of course, this price wouldn't include shipping, but if you were to just go to Amazon, type in my name, Jamarr Williams, that's Jamarr Williams, just type in my name. The author name will come up. You'll see, I think it's the second selection, but you'll see this book, I, the Empowered, Recognizing and Releasing the Traits of Greatness Within You, for $13.99. Once again, that's excluding taxes, fees, and shipping. There's another way you can purchase it. If you were to go to my website, now the official website launch isn't launching until March 15th. However, if you were to go to my website, www.jamarwilliams.com. Once again, www.jamarwilliams.com. There will be a tab that says I, the Empowered. Click on that link. You can purchase my book for a flat rate of $15. $15. That would include your shipping, include your taxes. Flat rate of $15. I will ship it directly to you. All right? So that's exactly how you can purchase this book. I do recommend and I do encourage that everyone, Dr. Dyer, do get this book. The perfect complement. I know around this time of the year, people may have their New Year's resolutions, but to take it even a step further, what do you wish to accomplish in this lifetime? What is it? What impact do you wish to make in this lifetime? Where are you in your life? Are you still attached to the circumstantial means? Are you still attached to the idea of, because I went through this, I can no longer do this?
I can't do it. I can't do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This book teaches you how to rise above the circumstances, rise above the variables, rise above whatever the experience was, and recognize the very traits of greatness that are on the inside of you. I go over 9 different traits in this book to include purpose, understanding. I remind everyone that they are that of royalty, kingship, and queenship. I remind people that they have the trait of conviction on the inside of them. I allow them to understand that there is power, a power on the inside of you. And with that power, you can unlock, you can attain, you can achieve, you can accomplish, you can acquire anything within this lifetime. And that does not have to be related to any circumstance.
What's one of your favorite chapters? I mean, I know because I've written things myself, and I know we put everything we have into our writing, and it's so personal when we get it on paper or as we typing. But what's one of those? Give me the one trait that's in the book that you think that a person should just not. Give me one.
I would definitely say the understanding part.
Okay.
And the understanding part, all right? Now, when you think about understanding, you think about, okay, I see what is around me, and I look up at the sky, I understand the sky to be blue.
Right.
I look at the ground, I understand the grass to be green. Why? Because I see it with my own eyes. I understand the smell of chocolate chip cookies because I can, right? I can smell. I have it, by the way, because I can smell it or I can sense it with one of my 5 senses. Your understanding, and I go so far as to explain that your understanding is what connects you to everything, anything of this universe.
How do you differentiate between understanding and perception?
Understanding and perception. You see, in order for anyone to have perception, you have to be able to see it.
Okay.
You have to be able to see it with your own eyes and understand that perception always has what attached to it? Opinion, right? I can see and experience from the outside looking in, right? I can see how another person operates and I can form my own opinion of who that person is, the experience that they are going through, even though the experience may not be as that person would tell it. But because I have formed a perception or an opinion in my mind, that's what the perception is attached to, an opinion. Understanding, however, there is no opinion. It is attached to complete fact. Yeah. You see, when I look down at the ground, I can't say that the grass is orange. I can't say that the grass is purple. I can't say that the grass doesn't exist, because guess what? The fact of the matter is, no matter what my opinion is, that grass is still green. That grass still exists. I still walk among it. I can pretend and I can give the perception, and I can even try to encourage and try to teach others that that grass does not exist. The fact of the matter is, no, no, no. The grass does exist. That is the difference between understanding and perception. What is the difference between fact and opinion? That is the difference between understanding and perception.
Jamarr with 2 R's, Williams, thank you so much for coming on Bridges Live. I just want to thank everyone for listening, share, and like. And, of course, we'll talk more, Jamarr, because I think as we connect things throughout the universe and throughout our country and this new paradigm shift that I'll keep talking about, that I think people will have to learn to understand more than perceive.
Sure.
What would you like to tell us before we take off and wish everybody a happy good night?
Most definitely. I would like to say what I say to everyone. Mm-hmm. You are that of greatness. I refer to you as a champion. I refer to you all as a champion. Why? Because you are someone who has what it takes to win the race. All right? Understand that you are that of the unlimited. You are that of the infinite. And because you are that of the infinite, I call you that of the empowered. I call you that of greatness. You can use that greatness to unlock any door. You can use that greatness to go anywhere in this lifetime. And guess what? Your circumstances does not have to be attached to that. Because you are that of greatness, use that greatness to empower yourself and, of course, most importantly, to empower someone else around you.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. I wish everyone a happy good night, and we'll be catching you up on the recap on another day. But everyone, be safe, be healthy, be blessed, and stay safe and stay aware, please. Thank you. Good night. Good night, Jamarr.
Good night. Thank you.
Show of Bridges Live. I'm Dr. Paul. Welcome to Bridges Live, and of course, some of my shows.